Well, hello, everybody, and welcome into the Shelby County High School football pregame show. A little bit of a different setting that we've got tonight. You've got me here at the home base taking a little bit of a night off, and Andrew Simonson out there at Helena High School for the big rivalry between Helena and Pelham. But we do have a special guest that we are going to bring in, filling space for me tonight in person, and that's going to be former intern Tyler Rayleigh, who is going to join us for tonight's show. And Tyler, welcome in to our first special guest here, the Shelby County High School football pregame show. Why don't you tell everybody where you are tonight in the game that you've got for us?
Well, guys, beautiful good evening from Herdmont Park here in Shelby County. Oak Mountain takes on Vestavia Hills tonight. Two teams who are looking particularly to make a playoff run here late in the season. Oak Mountain is 3-3, coming off a loss to the Hoover Bucks in a rivalry game at the Hoover Met. And Vestavia also now coming off a dominant win over Prattville. They're looking in a tie for third place to get in one of those 3 or 4 seeds here down the stretch. Guys, it should be a fun night, and it's a beautiful weather here.
Yeah, it's going to be a great night there at Herdmont. Always fun out at Herdmont. Such a beautiful setting for high school football. So Tyler's going to have a good one out there. We're going to break that game down a little bit more later on in the show as well. And Andrew's out at a big one tonight for us in addition to Tyler's game, and that's going to be out at Helena. Andrew, why don't you give everybody a feel for what's happening there early, as we're about an hour away from kicking that rivalry game.
Yeah, I've been here since about 5 o'clock, so I've got to see the stands start to fill up, the atmosphere start to build up a little bit as well, and it's got every bit of the feel of the big game that it is. It's Helena Pelham. It's one of the biggest rivalries in the state, and it's one of the most anticipated games for everybody here every single year. Yes, you got Buck Creek Festival happening down the road in Old Town Helena, but I guarantee you everybody here is going to be 100% locked in for this one. It's going to be a phenomenal night for high school football, one of the best nights of the year.
Yeah, Buck Creek Festival, those Ducks are going to go racing there down Buck Creek tomorrow. But tonight, the Huskies hope that they're the ones racing down the football field there to some big points in their rivalry battle with the Pelham Panthers. So 2 county teams in that one. We've got a busy night ahead, but we'd be remiss if we didn't start by talking about the game that you were at last night, Andrew. And I'm going to let you take it over here in just a second. But Spain Park continues to impress. Now 7-0. Dominant effort against Chelsea, a game in which, they kind of just felt like they had control, even in a defensive battle there, felt like they had control throughout. They end up picking up a 31-3 win at home against the Chelsea Hornets in an undefeated battle there. Now Spain Park in really good shape. You're looking at a Jaguars team that's undefeated in region play, undefeated overall. Next week, they pick up a win. They're going to be the region champion. So walk us through what you saw last night in that Spain Park Chelsea game and what you feel confidence-wise in both of these teams moving forward.
Yeah, it might be the first ever grinded out 31-3 win I think I've ever seen. And that's simply because the defense came to play last night. I think both defenses probably listened to what I was saying earlier this week on the Shelby County Football Show, which you can catch on YouTube if you haven't already. And that's for Spain Park to just go and attack up front, limit Chase Strasner, while also taking out some of Miller Bowman's options and forcing them into some late down situations. That's exactly what this defense was doing, and they did a really good job of limiting what Chelsea was able to do in first and second down and force them to have to make some plays in third and fourth down. Sometimes it worked out, sometimes it didn't. But credit to Chelsea for continuing the battle throughout that one, even though they were facing a really, really good Spain Park defense. So many players on that team impressed me yesterday, including EJ Curley, who had a monster night for that defense as well. But it's the offense that really was able to adapt to what Chelsea was presenting as well, which is take away that deep threat. Brock Bradley's connections with Corey Barber and everybody else downfield were really limited. So they had to go to the run game. They had to go to the jet sweep. Bradley ended up with under 100 yards passing, and this team still ended up walking away with a 28-point win because the running backs did so well. Both CJ Cowley and Dakari Shanks going for over 70 yards on their own. And it was a phenomenal night just to see the Jags out there. One of the best performances of the season, in my opinion. And if they continue to play like that down the stretch, everybody in Class 6A should be scared of what they can do.
Yeah, and the key to success and the reason that Spain Park had such a great performance last night, you just look below me right there, you'll see Scooter's Coffee. That's right. Scooter's Coffee gets you the energy. They get you revved up for the game of the week, and they had Spain Park ready to go last night in that big-time showing. So Spain Park 7-0. Chelsea falls to 6-1, and Chelsea's going to have a big one next week against the Helena Huskies, who Andrew's going to see tonight there in that rivalry battle with Pelham. That could be a very, very good football game next week for Helena and Chelsea as well. But let's jump into tonight's action. We've got a lot of big games, and Tyler's going to join us this week and go through each of these games, give us his quick thoughts and prediction as well. And for those who don't know, Tyler is actually going to be the newest member of our staff here at the Shelby County Reporter come December, finishing up his final semester there at Auburn right now.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Right.
Like Alec was saying, Tyler is going to be joining us on staff come December, both helping out our news and our sports departments in a big role. So everybody here at the office is really excited to have him on. And you guys, if you don't already know and love him, you're going to know and love him by the time December hits, because he's doing so many phenomenal things. I guarantee you, you're going to start loving his work the second he comes on. And obviously for you, a big one as well. Your first appearance on the pregame show, and although you have covered some football games in person for us, this is a big one in the regular season for you as you get a nice little region game out there in Vestavia Hills. With that said, we're going to go dive into our matchups here while Alec has a little bit of technical difficulties. Keep the show moving along. Start out in the AISA and the ACSC with two really big 8-man matchups that we've got for you guys tonight. We got Cornerstone taking on Lakeside, looking to keep its undefeated record alive, while Evangel goes to Southern Christian, looking to rebound from a loss to Chambers. And Tyler, this Cornerstone team has been really solid on offense all season. One of the top performing offenses in the state, and it's coming off back-to-back bye weeks. So that's really looking good for the Chargers as they battle the Lakeside Chiefs on the road. Winners of 3 of their last 4. Tyler, do you think Cornerstone's able to get it done here in this one?
You know, I think Cornerstone has had the momentum riding on their side lately. The offense has been better than in years past, and we're looking at a Cornerstone team that has a few veteran leaders on their team and can showcase that tonight. I think Cornerstone can pull this one out and keep their momentum riding. I think that's big here, especially late in the season, Andrew.
Absolutely. And you talked about that senior leadership has been key for this Chargers team all season long, and a really big moment for them as they go on the road for this team. Speaking of the senior team, they got an interesting last homecoming last week as dealing with that Coosa Valley forfeit that canceled their final home game of the season. If you get a chance, go out over to ShelbyCountyReporter.com, check out some of the photos and the story from their family fun night that they were able to have down in Columbiana there. And then as for this Evangel team, really looking to keep this momentum rolling in 8-man play, obviously taking 11-man loss to one of the best teams in the AISA in the Chambers Rebels. But Tyler, this is going to be a huge game in ACSC play. Southern Christian comes into this with a 4-1 record, and they've yet to score less than 40 points. Do you think the Lightning are able to keep up in this one?
You know, I think Evangel has had a tough last week, and we saw that. It beat them down, and it really demoralized them. Going into this game, I think they do bounce back. But will they be able to keep up? I don't know. That's the question we're all waiting to answer tonight. Will the defense still be tired after last week's beatdown? We don't know. But I do think Evangel can bounce back tonight, and I think the Lightning will get back on their feet, get back in the win column tonight, Andrew.
Yeah, there's this one thing about this Evangel team that's really resilient, especially on the defensive end. Obviously, 39 points in a shutout loss. Both the offense and the defense, I think, are going to take that personally, and I think they're going to come out and take a really big win here against Southern Christian as they continue to roll on towards what they hope is another straight ACSC state title in preparation for the NHSA National Tournament. And that moves us into the AHSAA as we look to get Alec back on screen. Welcome back to our fearless leader, Alec Etheridge.
Well, you want to know what the crazy thing is?
Can y'all hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. You want to know what the crazy thing is we go out and cover these games each and every week, and you're sitting in the stadium and you think you have an awful cell connection, and then you come home, you have your Wi-Fi, you're right next to the router, and all of a sudden you can't connect and do anything. So, yeah, very funny how that works out, and we actually have better service out there streaming something than we can have in our own home, which is absolutely crazy to me. So, yeah, sorry about that, but glad to be back. Hopefully we'll didn't miss much. I don't know where y'all capped off, but
well, we're about to dive into Vincent. So why don't you take over? Give us a little preview of that action right over there as they take on Aliceville.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what Vincent did last week, Tuscaloosa Academy in that matchup. It was a game in which, Vincent really battled. It was you saw that one in person, Andrew, and Vincent fell behind early, but they were able to fight back late in that game against a really, really good football team, and especially on the offensive end, and that defensive settled in there for the Yellow Jackets in that game. Tonight they hit the road. They take on Aliceville, and this is an Aliceville team that's struggling to score points. And you're going up against this Vincent defense. Although they gave up 35 points last week in that 35-21 loss, really settled in against arguably the best offense they're going to face all year. I think the defense is going to get back to reality this week, have another strong performance, and have a great shot against Aliceville tonight. Interested to hear what y'all's thoughts are on this game and if Vincent's able to get back in the win column.
Yeah, like you said, I was so impressed by what the Jackets were able to do last week. Forgive the Husky marching band as they provide a little bit of background noise for me. I have to talk over that. But basically, this Jackets team is really legit. That Tuscaloosa Academy team, one of the best teams in Class 2A. Wouldn't be surprised if they wind up challenging for that state championship. One of the best teams up there because they have a really explosive offense. They've got a really tight defense, and eventually Vincent was able to take the fight to them. And put a little bit of points on them as well. This wasn't your typical team gets back in the game after the game is basically a hand thing. This Vincent team really took the fight to Tuscaloosa Academy in the second half. And it all comes down to that defensive pressure and offense that can explode at any given moment, especially when you consider what Landon Archer is able to do from a receiving standpoint. My goodness, does he have a great connection with Case and Fields, and they're continuing to grow. And I think this Aliceville team is really going to give them a great chance to bounce back. You look at the Yellow Jackets of Aliceville, scoring just 19.3 points per game on offense and allowing 32.5 on defense. So I really expect the offense to actually set the tone here, and the defense to come up and fall behind with another dominant performance on both sides of the ball. And this Vincent team is able to get another key win on the road as they look to wrap up on the top two spots within Class 2A Region 5.
Yeah, Tyler, why don't you pick up where he left off? Just give us your quick thoughts and a prediction that you think is going to happen in that one in Vincent Aliceville.
No. And I pretty much agree with you guys wholly on this game. At the beginning of the season, and Andrew knows this, when I saw them at media days, I thought that this Vincent team might have one of the best senior classes that they have ever had, one of the most experienced leadership team-wise. And, this Vincent team, it's like we said, that they fought back last week against a really tough Tuscaloosa Academy team. And I think what they did, those efforts they put in the second half last week will carry over into tonight. And they can get back on their feet against a really much a struggling Aliceville team. I do think the Yellow Jackets get back on their feet. They get in the win column tonight. And I really think, don't be shocked, guys, if this one ends up being run them off the field type of game.
Oh, Tyler jumping in with a run them off the field early in his first show. I like it. Yeah, I mean, if the defense plays well, they should. They really should be able to pull away in that game. This is an Aliceville team that scored 21 or less in all but one and 14 or less in 4 of the last 5 games, giving up 32.7 points per game as well. So everything seems to point toward Vincent being able to pick up a relatively easy win there and get back on the right track as they chase down that 2 seed in that region. That takes us to another team that's going to be chasing down a 2 seed in all likelihood, and in their hopes at least, as they get a rivalry battle tonight in county against Montevallo. The Shelby County Wildcats going to host Montevallo tonight in a fun rivalry matchup there, a historic rivalry matchup. Before we talk about that game, I want to tell you about Montevallo Main Street and their sponsorship of the Montevallo Bulldogs this year. as you go throughout the high school football season, as you go throughout the fall season. We're about to enter a fun time of year there in Montevallo. They've got the hometown Halloween coming up here on Halloween night in a couple of weeks. Get the kids out there on Main Street, trick-or-treating, all the businesses out there. A lot of people are going to be a part of that. It's something you don't want to miss. A lot of communities do it, and Montevallo does a great job with what they're going to do there on Main Street. And that's just what Montevallo Main Street's all about. It's all about community, all about giving back and supporting the residents and the businesses as well. So make sure you support Montevallo Main Street throughout this high school football season, as they're proud supporters of us and the Montevallo Bulldogs. But Andrew and Tyler, this is a big game. Andrew, I'm going to start with you. For Shelby County to get back in the win column with the struggles they've had recently, obviously that big start to the season, but now they're taking on a Montevallo team that really they should be able to pick up a win here, and there shouldn't be any doubting that.
Yeah, it really should, but you know what we always say about these rivalries, you generally throw everything out the door, especially a rivalry that's been as closely contested as this one within the past. Since the series resumed, I mentioned it earlier this week, that every game outside 2021 was decided by 2 scores or less, and most were decided by single digits. This series usually delivers, and I'll be excited to see if Montevallo is able to keep up with this one, but right now it's just really hard to bet on this Bulldogs team. This defense is really able to keep this team in the game for a lot of the time, and if they're able to do what Demopolis did last week to Shelby County and that stop the run, limit Anthony Palmieri's impact, because we know what he can do when he gets hot. He can absolutely take advantage of some really good blocking and just absolutely wreck the field with his run-making abilities. But at the end of the day, I really do think that Shelby County is going to wear Montevallo down to the point where they can start making some plays, getting a little bit more runs, possibly even open up pass games if they want to experiment a little bit tonight as well. And at the end of the day, the Shelby County defense is looking too good against the Montevallo defense that's looking too bad. And even if the other side of the ball doesn't exactly work out the way that I expect, I really do think that the Shelby County defense is going to come through with a big win over Montevallo.
Yeah, you know, you look at this game, and it's Montevallo's defense that's going to be able to keep them in it if they're going to be able to stay close tonight. But ultimately, I think Shelby County's offense is going to have a little bit too much of a looking to get right. They're looking to find that momentum again, and I think they're really going to come out motivated in this one. So, Tyler, do you think that the defense of Montevallo, I mean, there's 2 good defensive teams, but do you think the defense of Montevallo is going to be able to do enough against Shelby County to be able to pull off the upset tonight?
You know, that's kind of a tough question really to answer, because you think about probably what Montevallo has done over the last couple weeks leading up to this. They've watched the film on Shelby County's past 2 weeks, how Shelby County's opponents have been able to stop that running game. And like Andrew mentioned, Anthony Palmieri has really been the core of that offense this season when they went on that 5-0 run. But, you know, I think Shelby County can get back on their feet. But really, I think Montevallo has the tools to win this game. And I feel like Shelby County, after having that high start, might be down a little bit. And that, you know, in this day and age, momentum is the key factor to winning any game. And I just don't know if Shelby County can have that right now. I feel like Montevallo's defense is going to do enough. They're going to stop Palmieri early, and they're going to ride that all the way through the game until Shelby County can change something with their offense.
Well, it's curious that you talk about the momentum, Tyler, because this Montevallo team also doesn't have a whole lot of momentum as well. They've lost every game since their season opener against Tarrant. And like I mentioned earlier, yes, the defense has been solid. It's kept them in the game, kept them in some 1-score games, another 8-7 contest last week against Selma in the first half. But then the games just get away from them in the second half. And that's really what I'm worried is going to happen again this week, is when you've got a really good offense in Shelby County that can go out and make some plays. I saw this Montevallo team struggle with a Northside team that was able to make some big plays on offense from the get-go. I do think this game is going to be a little bit different in that this defense will maybe settle in a little bit to begin with and find some success early like they have over the past few weeks. But when you look at what this Montevallo offense has done, it really hasn't been able to garner much of an answer. Nothing really from Rosario Conwell or from the quarterback position as well. I would love for this to be a bounce-back game for the Montevallo Bulldogs because I do think that they're doing some great things over there as well, and they do have a chance to compete within this one. I just don't think it's going to be enough.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, and Shelby County's defense is playing too good. They've been consistent all year, and Demopolis is Demopolis. That was going to be a tough game from start to finish. But that defense too good right now for a Montebello offense that's only scoring 12.6 points per game. And it's just not going to be enough for Montebello offensively tonight against that talented Shelby County defense. That takes us on to the Briarwood Lions, who are playing some of the hottest football right now in the county, Andrew. We've seen it the last couple of weeks with what Luke Reynolds has meant to this offense and the defense continuing to get better and better each and every week. This is a team that's going to be on the cusp of making the playoffs if some things can go the right way, but they got to take care of their own business, and that starts tonight in a matchup against John Carroll as they get to host the Cavaliers here. After an 0-5 start, Briarwood has now won back-to-back games, scoring 31 points in both of those games, 31-14 against Leeds, top 10 battle, or a top 10 team, top 5 team technically, number 4 Leeds at the time. And then a week later, their first region win, a 31-6 win over another top 10 team in Corner. So this is a Briarwood team that's clicking at the right time, Andrew. And tonight, it looks like they should be able to pick up another win.
Absolutely. We won't belabor the point of their postseason chances. You can go back on Alex's breakdown earlier this week on the Shelby County Football Show for a little bit clearer of the picture, but we're a little short on time, so we can't go into all the possibilities there. But the bottom line is if this Briarwood team continues to play its way into really good football, it should have at least a fighting chance to get into the playoffs, and that's a heck of a lot more than they could have said through the first 5 weeks of the season. It all really comes down to what Luke Reynolds has brought this offense. We saw it around this time last year. He was able to give a spark to Briarwood down the stretch and ignite that run game, pair it with a solid pass game that they have in Josh Thompson. Now they're a little bit more unsteady in the pass game, kind of been going back and forth between Braden Robertson and Charles Deadman looking for a spark in that passing game. But Luke Reynolds has really been able to reel off some great runs, provide some great sparks for this offense, and ultimately provided the dimension that they frankly didn't have throughout the first few weeks of the season. And that allows them to capitalize off of a really great defense that I think is going to thrive here once again against a John Carroll offense that's scoring just 15.7 points per game. I think that could get even lower than that today. So I really do think that Briarwood's going to come out with another statement win in this resumption of an old rivalry from their earlier days down in Class 5A.
Well, Tyler, this game taking place just down the road from you, so I want to get your thoughts here in just a second. As an Oak Mountain graduate, hopefully not too much animosity toward Briarwood there as well. So I'll get your thoughts here in just a second, but I want to tell you about 3D Air Services before we jump in to Tyler's thoughts on the game. 3D Air Services proudly right here in Shelby County. They're proud to call Shelby County home. They're more than just your trusted HVAC company. They're your neighbors, friends, and supporters. And if you've started to notice this week, we're starting to finally get that little hint of fall weather, the cool weather getting out there, those early mornings. We've hit 49 this morning. I saw it. Personally saw it myself on my car when I got in it this morning. 49 degrees, so we're heading in the right direction to need to turn that heater on at some point this year. So be ready to call 3D Air Services there, your trusted HVAC company right here in Shelby County, proud supporters of Briarwood and several other teams right here in Shelby County. Give them a call, 205-664-3501. 205-664-3501, 3dairservices.com. Jay Carr and his certified crew going to take good care of you. So, Tyler, why don't you break down real quick this Briarwood-John Carroll game? Seems pretty straightforward when you look at John Carroll scoring 15.7 points per game. Briarwood really playing good defense the last several weeks, giving up 23 or less in 5 straight and 14 or less in against those 2 top 10 teams in a row. So, Tyler, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, guys, we all know that Luke Reynolds, dating back to last year, has been a force on both sides of the ball for Briarwood, and Reynolds has been the driving leader. And if you think about what Coach Forrester has preached to his team as of late, Coach Forrester has been wanting to make it about this team reaching consistency and being able to get everyone chances in that game. And when you go look at what John Carroll has done, that team has been really stagnant. They haven't been able to get anything going. And Briarwood having 2 top 10 wins, would you call it upsets? I don't know. But with the way this Briarwood team has been playing as of late, you've seen how they've done it throughout the years. They've gotten down and better down the stretch. And what I think Briarwood's going to look for tonight is just to continue what they've been doing in the past 2 games, which is just pushing their offense to the limits and just playing some hardcore football. And guys, I think Briarwood's got that in hand tonight pretty easily. And like Andrew said, less than 15 points a game for John Carroll. I think it's less tonight for the Cavaliers, and I think Briarwood wins this one pretty handily.
Yeah, and I mean it's funny because the defense improved early in the season. I mean it was so much fun to watch their little bits of improvement each and every week. And the defense started doing enough to win football games, but the offense was lagging behind. And then, bam, here comes Luke Reynolds, and that offense flipped into a new gear. The defense was flying around even more confident than they were before. And now you've got a team that if they can sneak into the playoffs, Briarwood, not only a playoff team if that happens, this is a team I think is a legitimate state championship contender in 5A if Luke Reynolds is healthy, if this offensive line continues to play this way, and that defense continues to play the way they are. And it's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle to get into the playoffs, needing some things to go right. But when you got a team like that, you hate to not see them get a chance at the postseason. So we'll see if Briarwood can make that happen, but it starts with taking care of business tonight there against John Carroll. That takes us to the 6A classification, where we're going to jump into first a chance for the Calera Eagles to win their second game in a row, their first chance at back-to-back wins since the 2022 season. October 7th through the 14th of the 2022 season was the last time the Calera Eagles had back-to-back wins. Well, they do it last week in a 35-14 win over Brookwood, and now a chance against Chilton County this week to pick up another win. And this is a game that could be really interesting. This is a Chilton County team that has shown some different things at times from an offensive standpoint that they could give Calera's defense some troubles, but especially if Calera turns the ball over. And Andrew, that's where I want to turn to you, because if this Calera offense protects the football, they're very dangerous going up against the Chilton County defense that's giving up 34 points per game. It's tough to see Chilton County hanging around if Calera protects the football. But if you give the Tigers short field to work with, then this could become an interesting game.
Yeah, this is really interesting simply because the Eagles have been their own worst enemy at times throughout the season. Yes, this team is trending in a great direction, and yes, they have an incredible quarterback on their hands in A.J. Johnson, who's really able to make dynamic plays at the drop of a hat. But you look at this defense, it's been really suspect throughout the last few weeks. They were able to get some stops last week against Brookwood, but that's a Brookwood offense that is struggling mightily. It's winless on the season. But it's still a win at the end of the day. And they're going to need to take those lessons into a Chilton County team that gave Pelham a run for its money a few weeks ago. Tied up there with 2 scores apiece in the first half. Pelham was able to pull away, make some adjustments, and secure that win. Calera kind of having a similar win last week where they had to adjust late in order to be able to eventually pull away and stack up those points to get a comfortable win. So Calera's bottom line is that they can't have a repeat performance of last week. They're going to have to come out, play strong for all 48 minutes, and then see what happens. And if that happens, I really do think that this Calera team can outpace Chilton County, especially since this Chilton County defense is also giving up over 30 points per game. That should provide a lot of opportunities for A.J. Johnson to make some big plays in the run game to follow.
Yeah, I agree. That offense of Calera is, I mean, we've seen A.J. Johnson in different facets throughout the season and what he's able to do. And he's a kid that if he had another year or two of eligibility here in high school would be one getting a lot of looks when it comes to college football. So, Tyler, I want to get your quick thoughts on this one here in just a second, but I want to tell you about Bertoloni's right there in Calera first. Proud sponsors of the Calera Eagles. Bertoloni's right there off of I-65 in Calera. Been voted the best date night restaurant, best pizza, and best upscale restaurant here in Shelby County, and it's a place that you want to make sure to visit. I was reading a comment earlier today. I was scrolling through my Facebook feed early this morning and saw a comment about Bertoloni's and how incredible it was, and that they had been many, many times before, and it's always good, but it may have been the best it's ever been when they went last night. So Bertoloni's is a place you want to try out. They've got all the traditional Italian cuisine that you could possibly want. chicken parmesan spaghetti, lasagna, any of that, but their pizza is to die for. And then you can't forget about the specialty cakes. That strawberry cake is what they're known for. It's one of the best cake slices you can get in the state of Alabama, but you can get it by the slice, you can get a whole, and they've got seasonal specials as well. So make sure you give them a visit. Can test out their family meals as well. Busy time of year, fall, sports, everything that's going on this time of year. You got to get the kids fed. You got to get the family fed. Get to Bertoloni's, order their family meals, take advantage of that. You can visit them, bertolonis.com, to place that to-go order, or give a call to 205-664-8780, 205-664-8780. Make sure to give a call, visit, see why Sonia Bertoloni and her family have made such a great impact here in Shelby County. But Tyler, I want to hear about your thoughts on this Calera game tonight, and if you think Calera is going to get that first back-to-back win streak for the first time since 22.
You know, guys, I really do think, and I'm just going to say that straight off the bat, I do think that Calera can get this achievement fulfilled. Scott Riles has turned this program around from a cultural standpoint. Yeah. From where they were last year. They were in a really rough position. And now that he has come back and gotten them, won their first win since 2022, and now has the chance to go back-to-back, he has a chance to do it against the Chilton County team, who over the last couple of years has really not performed well to their standards. And I believe Calera has the weapons, and like Andrew said earlier, AJ Washington can make this a difference in this game. And I think you see him use his legs to his advantage. And against a Chilton County team that its defense is really not all that impressive. Actually, I would probably say not impressive at all. But
he's not afraid to take shots, is he? I'm telling you.
No, I'm calling it how I see it. But I think I do think Calera has the optimism to be able to move the ball around, and their offense is so much more dynamic than it was last year. Calera does get their first chance at back-to-back wins since 2022, and they will pull this game out tonight. I say probably 2-possession game.
No, man, wow, there we go. Tyler comes in hot with his picks and his call-outs there. So if Calera loses this game, which I don't think they will, I think but you'll hear about that one from those Clanton folks and the people down in Chilton County. So. And I got one more question for you, Tyler. I know you were a nice little member of the Oak Mountain Band there for a long time.
Right.
Do they think that you're still in the band right now? Because it seems like they're all just huddled around you.
You know, I really do. Sometimes I think that they would want me back, but you know, who knows in this time.
But by the end of the show, I fully expect you to have instrument in hand, drums in front of you, fully going at it.
Hey, I'll have my old uniform on. I'll tell you that now.
Instead of Corso coming out with the headgear, Tyler's going to come out in the old band uniform. So, but anyways, we move on to our next game that we're going to talk about. And if I'm on the right track, I believe we are actually to the game that you were at, Tyler. As the Oak Mountain Eagles are going to take on the Vestavia Hills Rebels, a big game for Oak Mountain tonight. As really this one, I think, is kind of that final chance. If they want a shot at the playoffs, they really have to win this one. And if they can win this one, then you look at what they've got left. I know they've got a difficult game against you at Trustville, but this is a team that if you win 2 of these final 3 games, a good chance that you could find yourself with an outside chance at the playoffs. So, Tyler, walk me through your thoughts going into this one as you got a Vestavia team coming in with some confidence. You got an Oak Mountain team that struggled to convert on opportunities last week against Hoover in a 28-10 loss.
Yeah, we've seen all season that Willowdale has the answers to be able to make any defense keep guessing on their drives on the field. Willowdale, honestly, guys, has been one of the most improved quarterbacks probably in the state. I'm sure as any journalist who's found that has known. But Oak Mountain has to get the bad taste out of their mouth, like we said. They're still winless against Hoover. We've known that. You've got to throw that out the window. And I'm sure Shane McComb has got his boys ready to fight tonight, because you're going in against the Vestavia team who is, while they're 2-4 on the season, their 2 region wins against both Hillcrest and Prattville they've scored almost 50 points in both of those games. And you're looking at an opportunity to where Oak Mountain can bounce back, make a push for that playoff spot at the end of the game. And you've got a defensive line who needs to take advantage of a young Vestavia quarterback in the backfield in Charlie Taft. And you've got to limit Will Tonsmeyer as well to minimal gains in yardage, right? This defense has to perform the best it has all season. I know they've had some struggles throughout the past couple of weeks, but this is your time to step up. And late in the season, when it comes down the stretch, you're trying to find ways to get into the playoffs. You've got to play your best football, and I think that's what the Eagles are going to come out and do tonight. My issue is that will that defense get drained by the end of the fourth quarter? And that's where you're really going to see the real skills of this team come out. And unfortunately, guys, it's like y'all talked about on the football show this week. Vestavia has the ability, because of their tough schedule early on, to be able to go down and win this game late because of they're energized. They won't have the fatigue that Oak Mountain might have. And guys, I just think while Will Odell and Marty Myrick and Will Odell and Marty Myrick have been key in their success, I just think you're going to see that Coach Robert Evans has the answers to beat this Oak Mountain offense and shut them down eventually in the second half.
Can we plaster it up here? Bulletin board. We need a bulletin board up right now for bulletin board material. Oak Mountain grad picks against alma mater. But Tyler, you're right. Oak Mountain is going to have to find a way to not only get stops against this Vestavia team with the defensive struggles that Oak Mountain's had this year, but Will Odell and this offense are going to have to come out and convert and capitalize on opportunities. And that's something they hadn't been able to do the last few weeks of the season. They started out strong early in the season, but the last few weeks it just hadn't been there, and in particular last week. The defense played well enough against Hoover to win. They created turnovers. They gave the offense good opportunities. The offense just couldn't punch it in the end zone. So, Andrew, is that something that you think this Oak Mountain team can flip and be able to find it this week against Vestavia Hills to be able to pick up a win?
Well, they're going to have a tough time in flipping it because, frankly, I think Vestavia Hills is a lot better than that 2-4 record. And I think other people around the state agree with me. They received a vote or two in the 70 rankings this last week, despite having a 2-4 record on their schedule. That does not typically warrant a top 10 selection, but their losses are to 4 of the top 5 teams in the state. You mentioned the tough schedule earlier. Those losses to Thompson, Harvard, Montgomery, Auburn, and Hoover as well. So this is a team that's been through it all, much like Oak Mountain, obviously having that tough schedule against teams like Thompson and against Hoover still as well. But I really do think that this Vestavia team is looking for another breakout game, and I think that they could find it here against Oak Mountain. It's going to be definitely interesting to see how this Oak Mountain defense squares up against the Vestavia offense that has really run roughshod over the teams that are below them in the standings, especially against Prattville and Tuscaloosa County. But I really do think that this Oak Mountain offense, with Will Odell, with Marty Myrick, fellow Kraft Burger fan, I must say, I saw him earlier there for lunch. But I think that those two are really going to help dictate the tempo against this Vestavia team, keep this game sneaky close into the fourth quarter. But I think the battle-tested nature of this Rebels team is really going to shine through and be able to get the tough win over at Herdmont. But this could be upset potential. Yeah. I seriously think Oak Mountain's a live dog in this one.
Yeah, non-sponsor there, but that's a good place for a pregame meal if I'm looking to get ready for a night too. So, but yeah, I do think that it was my bold prediction on the show this week. I think Oak Mountain could put it together. If they're going to win, that offense is going to convert. Vestavia has been an up and down team, but they're battle tested, and we talked about that earlier in the week. They played some really, really good football teams this year to get to where they are. And this is where that pays off. I think down the stretch, they're going to start to really put it together. And we're going to see that tonight against Oak Mountain as the Rebels pick up a win there at Herdmont. But could be a little bit closer than a lot of people may expect. Oak Mountain, when you've got a quarterback like Will Odell and you've got the athletes that have stepped up like they have this year, then you've got an Oak Mountain team who could make things interesting. That takes us to Thompson as they hit the road to take on Hillcrest Tuscaloosa tonight in a big region matchup. And then our final game we're going to talk about the big rivalry there on the hill at Helena High School between Helena and Pelham, and that fun rivalry battle as we close down the show with that one. Before we jump into this Thompson game, want to tell you once again about our friends at 3D Air Services. Like I said earlier in the show, we got that little bit of a hint of fall right now, and you get up in the mornings, you get that cool, brisk air with a warm cup of coffee. It feels like fall. Well, soon enough, we're going to be shifting into winter. That heater's going to need to be ready to roll for it as you go from the hot Alabama summer heat into the winter. Get that HVAC system tuned up. All your HVAC needs right there at 3D Air Services. Since 2005, they've proudly called Shelby County home. They're more than just your trusted HVAC company. They're your neighbors, they're your friends, and your supporters, just like they're the supporters of us and several of our teams that we cover right here in Shelby County. So make sure you support them in return. They're at 3D Air Services. Go ahead and write the number down, 205-664-3501, 205-664-3501. 3dairservices.com. Jay Carr and his certified crew going to take good care of you. And make sure you keep that saved up as you head back into the spring and summer next year as well for all of your HVAC needs, getting that air conditioner and heater tuned up. But that takes us to a big one as Thompson hits the road to take on Hillcrest Tuscaloosa. This is a Thompson team coming off yet another big game last week, as they pick up a 15-10 win over Hewitt-Trussville. And in that one, it really it was Anquan Fagans at the end again, another big defensive play, who cemented that win. And the defense did it again throughout. It was the defense that was the storyline in that one. Tyler, I know you're familiar a little bit with Thompson and what they've been able to do so far this season, in particular with the defense. I know you're probably paying close attention to Anquan Fagans as an Auburn person, a student at Auburn right now. So what's your expectation tonight as Thompson goes on the road to take on Hillcrest Tuscaloosa, a team that's, it could be a little bit of a tricky game tonight when you look at it on paper, but ultimately what I look at is this Hillcrest team has struggled offensively against the best teams they've played.
As I was driving here, I was thinking that exact same thing, Alec, and that Hillcrest, just because of what their record is showing this year, does not mean that they're down and out, right? They may not make the playoffs this year. I expected them to make the playoffs this year, but, things change throughout the season. And so while Hillcrest may be down, they're definitely not out. Thompson is going to have the answers, though, to be able to take down Hillcrest pretty handily. And like you said, Anquan Fagans, you really don't want to – it's almost like teams don't really want to risk any opportunities against him, because if you throw the ball, you're in a position where it's just going to get intercepted either way. Now, if you're running the ball, he's going to find you in the secondary if he gets to the second level. So really, it's just all about, at that point, Thompson executing ball like they have all year. And I just believe they're going to do that, especially on the road. It's just, I feel like the Thompson Warriors are going to be in a position where they can get this win fairly easily.
Well, and a lot of times when you go on the road, you're actually a little bit more focused than when you're at home, too. And that could be something that pays off for them tonight. But, yeah, I mean, it's Thompson's defense is one of the best in the state. And that's what it is. They played some of the best teams in the state, some of the best teams in the country this year. And the defense has played well. And you look at how Hillcrest has played against the elite of Class 7A Region 3. They've scored, where did it go? Let's see. Scoring 13 points per game against the best three teams in this region. And they're giving up 43.7 in that same span. So that's not good. That's not good. When you're going up against the best defense you're going to face all year, and you're scoring 13 against the likes of Hewitt-Trussville, Vestavia Hills, that's not a good combination there. So, Andrew, when you look at that, do you ultimately think that Hillcrest is going to be able to find enough offensively tonight against that Thompson defense? Is there going to be any cracks there? And then in addition to that, this is a team, like I said, giving up 43.7 games in situations like this, 43.7 points per game. Could this be Thompson's biggest offensive night of the year?
I think it absolutely could, simply because you know what you've seen this Warriors team do against teams like Tuscaloosa County, against teams like Oak Mountain. They take care of business against the teams that they're facing, and they do it in big dramatic fashion. And I think that opens up Trent Seaborn to have a really big night in the pass game. I know they've had a bit of a rough sledding stretch the past couple of weeks, particularly against Clay Chalkville. But I really do think that this team is going to be looking to bounce back make a statement performance, start locking in down the stretch, because you've got a really big stretch of games coming up. Got Hoover next week potentially for the region championship, and then your finale against Prattville before a bye week in the playoffs. So this is where this Warriors team typically likes to lock in, and I think this is where it's going to start. This offense, we've been saying it all season long. It really needs to get better, and it needs to start progressing. You look at a Hillcrest defense that's giving up that much to some of the elite teams in the state. I really do think this is a good opportunity for them. But even if they don't have a good night, I think this defense is going to carry it away once again, simply because I've seen what they've done against the best teams in Class 6A and Class 7A, and it's been brutal. It's been really exciting to watch this Thompson defense work, both in the pass game, but in rush. It's really been an absolutely difficult unit to crack. It's continued all season long. A lot of teams have tried. Many have failed. I don't think Hillcrest is going to be any different. I think it's going to be easily.
Yeah. I think that Thompson defense is just unreal. I think it's such an incredible unit. I think Anquan Fagans is the best player in the state. I told you that earlier this week, and I hold true to that. I really do think that. And he's playing on the offensive side now. He almost had 100 yards receiving and a touchdown last week on the offensive side. He's such a difference maker, and if they need a big-time play, he's going to make it. But ultimately tonight, I think Thompson's defense is going to play a really good football game, and I think this offense is going to have the best game that they've had in a while as well. So expect Thompson to pick up another key region win, which, don't get caught looking ahead, sets up that showdown next week with the Hoover Buccaneers for the region championship, as it has come down to so many times now over the last several years. Can't wait for that next Friday night. So we got a big one there coming up next week. But that takes us to our game of the night there, the rivalry battle between Helena and Pelham, which Andrew is at. Before we jump into that, I want to tell you about our sponsors. Obviously, 3D Air Services, which you've heard multiple times throughout the show. Give them a call, 205-664-3501, 3dairservices.com for all of your HVAC needs there right here in Shelby County. And also Consign Design. Got a text yesterday about Wendy from Consign Design said somebody came into the store, mentioned that they had heard about them on the football show, and they were there to get some stuff for their family, their daughter, wife, all that stuff. It was such a cool thing to hear that and see that support. And we appreciate Wendy and her crew there at Consign Design for supporting us, supporting the Helena Huskies this year, and hearing things like that. Make sure you go out and support these local businesses, and Wendy does a great job with Consign Design. A lot of great stuff, whether it's babies, whether it's women, men, children, all ages. They're going to take care of you. Anything you can need or think of in consignment needs is going to be right there at Consign Design. You can give them a visit right there in Alabaster, 72 Fulton Springs Road, next to Publix in the Walmart Neighborhood Market. They've got more than 27 years of experience in the consignment industry, and Wendy Davis is going to tell you or be able to help you out with anything you need there. Visit them. Consign.design is their website, consign.design, or call 205-664-7540 for more details. And Tyler, I want to jump in with you first, and then we'll close it down with Andrew, as it's the game that he's going to be covering. But this Helena Pelham rivalry runs deep. There's always a lot of drama. It's always a lot of fun. What's your expectation going into this one with a good Helena football team that bounced back in a big way last week, 55-14 over Benjamin Russell, and then you look at what Pelham has done in struggling with a 42-7 loss to Spain Park last week.
Right. Well, guys, you're going to be hearing a little bit of background music there for a second, so I'll make this pretty quick. But you know, this region is ultra competitive, and we've seen that throughout this year. Of who's going to really get those playoff spots. And I think the Helena Huskies have the answer. Richie Busby has his team in a position where they can push this down the stretch and end the season and get themselves in a comfortable position for the postseason. But Helena has what it takes to defeat a young Pelham squad. And we've seen this all year, guys, that Pelham's youth has really been their weakness and the inexperience. And so I think where Helena's experience lies really gets them into a safe, victorious spot. And guys, I think this offense is just going to be really overpowering for this Pelham defense. And we'll see what happens throughout the game. But guys, it should be a comfortable Helena win tonight.
Yeah, Tyler,
Yeah.
I love hearing the fight song come up back there behind you. It's obviously the USC fight song as well, but anytime you hear that here in Shelby County, you know Oak Mountain's about to take the field or has done something good. So, Tyler, we're going to let you get out of here. Go enjoy it, man. Have fun. Your alma mater covering a fun game there at Piedmont. Go enjoy. We appreciate it, man.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night. And guys, follow along on Twitter at TRayleigh34 for updates on the Oak Mountain Stadium game.
Yep, we'll be retweeting. See you later, Tyler.
Yes, sir.
Well, Andrew, I want to get your breakdown, obviously, as we go into this one. It's a huge game for Helena because if they win this one, they get Chelsea next week. That means that Helena could be battling for that 2 seed in this region and home field advantage in the opening round of the playoffs, whereas Pelham, a team that's young, they're going to fight each and every week. You got to expect that Pelham, they don't want any game more than they want this one, and these young guys would love to steal this game away from the Huskies.
Yeah, especially with this Pelham team likely in a poor spot in terms of their playoff potential. It becomes all about winning these big rivalry games, and this is the biggest rivalry game. And you also consider the fact that Pelham hasn't won on the field in this series since 2018, since before these guys were even at Pelham High School. That's going to be weighing heavily on this team, and I think they're going to be extremely motivated to come out and get this one. So, not that Helena is going to not going to overlook this team whatsoever. They know what Pelham can present. I know that Ricky Busby has coached these guys up well to channel the emotions of this intense and emotional rivalry week, to be able to come out and get their biggest performance of the season, because this Helena team is running on all cylinders right now. This defense is really solid and really able to neutralize a lot of really talented offenses. We saw what they were able to do when they were given opportunities to capitalize with on defense and special teams last week. So that will definitely be interesting to see if they can do that against Pelham versus what they did against Ben Russell. But you look at the Helena offense, it's getting so balanced and really great. I'm looking forward to seeing them live for the first time this season as well. Getting some really good action here as Nate Ferguson takes the ball under center, really starts getting the ball out into space to guys like Torrey Ward, starts exploiting a Pelham defense that's been really weak all season long. And complementing that with a really great run game, like we have with Jeremy Spratling, like you have with all the other guys who were able to give the Huskies those really hard yards on the ground. I just think there was way too many ways for Helena to attack this game. Even if Pelham stops one aspect, I really don't think they're going to be able to limit everything that this Huskies team is going to be able to do. But Helena needs to stay focused. They need to come out here, play their best football from the first quarter, and really take this fight to the Pelham team in a way that we saw last year. Obviously, that game was carried on the back of George Washington. Who knows if we'll be getting a similar performance tonight? Yeah. It would be really fun if that happens for either side. But at the end of the day, I think that this Helena team ends up walking away with the win.
Yeah, I have been impressed by the growth of Dylan Smith and what he's done for Pelham at the quarterback position. I've been impressed by Caleb Porter at times at the running back position as well. The defense has made some big-time plays too. They're just all so young. They're a young team right now, and there's no consistency to this point yet, and that's what I need to see tonight. I need to see Pelham be consistent. I need to see Dylan Smith stringing together a few big throws. I need to see Caleb Porter, when he makes a big 40, 50, 60-yard run like he's done almost every game this year, follow it up with another one and be consistent in your offensive approach. And they just hadn't had that consistency so far this season, and that's what gives me the most doubts going into this game. If they can put it together, though, tonight, I have seen the flashes at times where this offense can be very difficult to stop, and that could make this a dangerous game if Helena's not ready for what Pelham can bring at you if they are clicking on all cylinders. And so I think that's going to be the interesting aspect to watch. If Helena comes out and plays their best game, they're going to win this football game by a couple of scores. We saw what they did against Ben Russell, and that's what impresses me going into tonight. That's why I have a lot of confidence in them. That's why I think they win the football game, is because of how they performed last week. After those 3 straight losses to really good football teams, they weren't down. They knew everything was still ahead. They knew the opportunity they had. They bounced back with a 55-14 thumping of the team that we thought might be the number 2 team in this region this year, and they get a dominant effort there in that one. I think Helena going to build off of that confidence tonight here in this rivalry battle with Pelham. I agree with Jeremy Raines. Andrew, what a beautiful backdrop. You got the players coming out on the field now. You got the sun setting on the hill there at Helena High School for a rivalry game. closing thoughts from you. I know you got just a couple of minutes before you need to get out there, so we'll close down with you, and then we'll get out of here.
Well, it's rivalry week. I declared it to start this week. We already got one out of the way with Spain Park and Chelsea, but we got a lot of really big matchups tonight, and I'm excited to see who really comes out, takes advantage of this opportunity to not only get a big win over your rival in most cases, but for every one of these teams, get that win that you can propel into the final 3 weeks of the season, and ultimately be able to walk away with a playoff spot at the end of the day. This is about where we're going to start seeing these spots be decided. So I'm excited to see how the playoff picture continues to unfold right here tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Andrew obviously has you in person there at Helena High School, at Andrew T. Simonson on X tonight. Give him a follow. Don't forget about Tyler Rayleigh, who's going to have your updates out from Oak Mountain. I'm going to have several stories for you tonight as well after the game. We'll have all of our stories, all of our photos, everything you need on Twitter, on Facebook, and on our website, shelbycountyreporter.com, after the games tonight. Live updates all night on X. Make sure you give Andrew a follow, as well as myself and Tyler. We'll have all the retweets and updates coming at you. But that's going to do it for tonight's Shelby County High School football pregame show. We appreciate all of you for tuning in. And as always, enjoy your football Friday night.